Education meeting is called to order. The Board of Education is in compliance with the sunshine regulations. This meeting was appropriately advertised by notifying the retrospect as well as posted notices in Borough Hall, the Runnymede Post Office, Mary Vold School, Lyon Bingham School, and Grace Downing. Could you please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, board members.
Angel Beebe. Here. Naomi Davidson.
Here.
Amy Farley.
Here.
Colin McCurry. Maria Panzarella.
Here.
Patricia Smith.
Here.
Samantha Spalding.
Here.
Lynn Terrell. Here. John Moore.
Also present, Nancy Ward, Superintendent of Schools, Joanne Augustine, Business Administrator, Marie Gallagher was in the building. Mark Iannucci, Principal, Mary Vold School, Robert Mungo, Assistant Principal, Mary Vold School, Janet Fiola, Child Study Team Coordinator, and Butch Bruner, Maintenance Supervisor. First, I need the approval of minutes from the regular minutes, the budget hearing, and the regular meeting on March 28th, and the executive minutes.
I make a motion.
Motion made by Maria, seconded by Angel. Are there any questions? Roll call.
Angel Beebe.
Yes.
Naomi Davidson.
Yes.
Amy Farley.
Abstain.
Colleen is absent. Maria Panzarella.
Yes.
Patricia Smith.
Yes.
Samantha Spalding.
Yes.
Lynn Terrell.
Yes.
Motion carries. 6.
First up this evening, we're going to have a presentation of the video No Smoking by the first grade health class at Bingham School. And to help us out with that, we have Bingham School nurse Krista Moore.
Hi, thank you for letting me show you and share our project. We were just finishing up our drugs and alcohol curriculum, and the children were actually making posters on names of smoking and reviewing the lesson that we had gone over. And the posters turned out so cute, and they were really creative. And I always like to pull in music to the class because I think that the kids, it just reinforces the lesson. So Miss Ayusa and Miss Vonderstuck and I were talking, and Miss Ayusa said, it'd be really cute if maybe we made a little movie out of the posters with music. And then I turned to Miss Vonderstuck and I said, do you have any music that would go along with no smoking? And she said, well, I do, but it has to go along with a lesson that talks about the dangers of smoking and how if people try to get you to do it, it's a bad idea because it talks about trying to do something and that leads to a bad decision. And I think that's exactly what we talked about, how people will try to make you feel uncool for saying no. And she's like, well, so she offered to teach the song, but then the kids were really getting into the song. When I watched them dancing, I'm like, we should make a movie. So Miss Ayusa and Miss Vonderstuck taught the song and music, and Miss Ayusa and I worked with the kids in class, and we had them dress up as rock stars. And then when some of the boys came in, they looked like they were a little bit more on the dark side of rock. So we had them dress, and they're kind of the tempters, and then we see kind of how the lesson goes. So I'll show you our movie, and the title is No Smoking, I Should Have Known Better. Oh, you
There you go.
There we go. You might want to turn these around. And the song, we had two versions. We actually had like the pre-recorded version. Ms. Vonderstuck actually taught the song and then used a digital voice recorder to record our children singing it, and then we dubbed it to the movie. So it actually has a soundtrack. It has a soundtrack.
Don't forget to double click on it when we get to the
Okay, here we go. Let's see. stills just to make sure that all the kids got a nice shot. These are the outtakes, exactly.
And thank you. Also, please send our, tell them we loved it, we appreciate it, and the students that they're awesome.
I will.
No problem. No
Thank
problem.
you.
Thank you so much. The second item under correspondence is the Camden Gloucester County School Board Association spring meeting, which is on Tuesday, May 8th. And the reason why this is so important to us is because our Vice President, Board Member Naomi Jacobson will be among those honored at this meeting for earning the prestigious Certified Board Member designation. And there was a form attached, and I just want to congratulate Naomi publicly, and you know, we're very happy to have you. I would like to go to support Naomi if anyone else wants to go with me.
I reserved 5 spots.
Okay, great. Just let Joanne know that. At this time, we are open for public comment on agenda items only. The board president will recognize those individuals in the audience who wish to comment on any action items on this agenda. Please respect the procedures listed on our agenda. Also, I want to state that item number 5 under personnel is the approval of the 2012-2013 contract for the superintendent. Due notice of the public hearing for approval of the contract was posted in the retrospect and at all school municipal buildings. This would be the appropriate time to ask questions or to make comments about the contract as well as other agenda items. Does anybody in the audience have any questions or comments on the agenda items? If not, we will go on to the superintendent's report.
District enrollment as of March 31st, 2012 was 862, includes 14 out-of-district students for special education, 848 students in the district. We remain stable. Fiscal accountability review report was also attached for your review. While it was largely a boilerplate of recommendations from the executive county superintendent and business administrator, some of the recommendations should remain on the board's radar screen as decisions are made for planning and staffing. You can see a few things noted that they would like us to work on with our efficiencies. Other activities, Joanne Augustine and I attended a borough council meeting on April 3rd where we presented the budget, and it went very well. We had a few questions from members of the public. Some of them included why there were, even with additional state aid, why we still increased the tax base, and we explained that we're still making up for the losses in the 09-10 budget. I also wanted to let you know that we had been unable to find a new learning disabilities teacher consultant since last September. Fortunately, we advertised again, receiving 4 applicants. There is a name on the agenda this evening, and it does happen to be Lori Hines, who was with us before. I believe that she comes back to us not only with all of the knowledge she left us with, but with additional knowledge, because she was placed in the early childhood placement, and that was probably the only area that she didn't have as much firsthand experience with. So she's even more well-rounded, and I'm hoping that you approve her to come back. We've been operating quite shorthanded this year, and I think Lori's return to the district will give us a tremendous amount of support that we need, especially in the lower grades. One HIV incident reported at Bingham, not found to be HIV, and that's on the back of my list. Any questions?
I know kindergarten registration went through. What are our numbers projected for the fall?
No, I don't, Ms. Gallagher, what did you say?
They're not real large right now. I would say both schools probably, we have under 40 registered, but that doesn't mean anything.
Oh, I know. I was
So-
just wondering how the early registration went.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have another question with regard to that. I happen to know somebody who applied for choice school and was turned down, as a kindergarten student. If the numbers were to stay the same, are we interested in taking a kindergarten student?
Well, the problem with kindergarten is that it's difficult to say how many students we're gonna get.
Right.
We have gotten kindergartners at the first
Last-
day of school,
right,
at the
okay.
last minute.
Okay.
So where the rest of our grade levels are a little more predictable,
Mhm.
kindergarten could go over the edge, and it's so important to try to keep those kindergarten classes low, because if we were to even go over 25, we'd have to hire an aide. So if we had to hire an aide, that would mean that there was an undue burden on the school district, because we have to hire additional staff. So I prefer that we maintain what we have.
Just under 40.
Thanks very much.
Right, that's what.
Any other questions? Business administrator's report?
On my report, again, as Dr. Ward mentioned, we had presented the 12-13 budget at the Borough Council meeting. I also updated the Jobs Fund cash management report, submitted the official budget to the county with all the documentation and checklists that are required. Met with vendor representatives to initiate an FSA, which is a flexible spending account, which is required by state regulations. And I completed and submitted reimbursements for IDEA and NCLB grant, attended various county meetings and workshops and trainings on DOE and fiscal issues. My routine activities continue. Also posted on our website are requests for quotations for professional services. We had advertised that with a group of Camden County schools actually back in March that went into the paper notifying everyone that these requests for solicitation, requests for quotations for professional services would be available on school district websites. So we had done that. And my other final reminder would be that if you didn't turn in the ethics forms, which I think almost everyone has, I need to get those to the county. So, thank you.
All right, building and grounds report, principals reports, nurses report, special education report are all attached. Are there any questions on any of those reports?
I had one question on Mr. Bruno's report. I was just wondering how the sewer line investigation went with our sewer department on the 18th.
A little different date there, isn't it? Actually, it didn't go, I mean, it went well as far as we determined what it was. It is definitely a collapsed line. The line is actually located in a different spot than what we originally thought. It's located deep into the playground area, the academy area out there, out back of the school. So we are now looking into, we have to reroute. The bathroom on the third floor is the only place, anything that's affected by the sewer line. So we're going to have to reroute that through a couple of stairwells, through a block wall, and into the lower girls' bathroom on the first one. So we're in the process of getting quotes for that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? PTA report?
This is also something I'm able to be here right now, but we are very excited. This is a big week for the PTA. Our biggest fundraiser for the year is our basket auction, and that will be this Friday night. We have been overwhelmed with the generosity of both the staff and the community. People have just really given very generously from all parts of our town and local community. We had fantastic prizes. We had over 100, over 115 probably now, regular baskets. We have deluxe baskets, which are valued of over $200. We have some super deluxe prizes. And we have our big raffle, which is our Las Vegas trip and the $500 Southwest gift card. So there's a lot of fun to be had this Friday night for all walks of life, other than minors, because it is just an adult night. The tickets are $10. They are still on sale. It's going to be in our back gym here, and we look forward to having big.
You can get tickets at the door, correct?
You can get tickets at the door. They will be $15 at the door instead of $10. But the response has been really overwhelming, so I wouldn't want anybody not to have a seat. So yes, you can still get tickets, but you know, you can definitely get your tickets ahead of time. So we're encouraging people to do that. And the doors will open at 5:30, so you can come, have dinner, have a snack, and there'll be refreshments offered during. But I think it's going to be having a good night where we have a DJ. The starts at 5:30, and the baskets will start to be pulled at 8 o'clock. So.
Thank you.
How many pre-event tickets have been sold, Mrs. Markle?
168 roughly.
Yes, so we're very, very excited. And we've started, you know, we have big PTA events in the spring, but, you know, we started planning for our graduation plans, which is a big thing. And we are moving full speed ahead with all of our school trips. So we, you know, thank the board's cooperation and all building principals have been great. So we're very, very excited to be able to assist in that.
Thank you.
I have one more thing. I have Las Vegas tickets with me. I'm just gonna give you the spiel. $5 each, or a real bargain of 5 for $20. If you didn't get them, you should see me afterwards. I'll be more than happy to sell you some.
Thank you.
Just to let you know, just throwing it out there. It's your last chance. We won't have another board meeting before it's pulled. Yeah.
Is that a discounted price?
Just for you.
Camden County Educational Service Commission report. I don't believe there's a report this month. New Jersey School Boards Association.
I have a short report I will share with you. On May 19th is the New Jersey Delegate Assembly. The New Jersey School Boards Association is kind of like our advocate to legislation. And there are several resolutions that the school boards would like to go to our legislatures with. And my job would be to go and then vote either yes or no for these resolutions. The most important one that I thought would be good to speak about was that the Howell Board of Education in Monmouth County, they've put in a waiver to request that the New Jersey School Boards Association seek special legislation that would require any and all educational bills or regulations to be reviewed and evaluated by a constitutionally formed council on the unfunded mandates prior to adopting them, or in the alternative that any such legislation included language and such review to be completed before the legislation becomes effective. So they want to have some type of review of any kind of new policy that would be put on the schools to review it to make sure that if it's mandated, that it would be not unduly burden the schools with more money to have to fund something that we have to do. So if it's okay with the board, I would like to vote in favor of that policy. Does anybody have any?
I would agree with that personally. They don't already.
No, there's
have-
nothing
they
in
just
legislation yet.
Throw it out there and see what works.
Correct.
Whatever they do.
department mid deems appropriate.
I think you have our support,
They had to
absolutely.
backpedal with the whole HIV.
Right.
For that
Exactly.
reason, because they put all these Band-Aids and it costing all the schools money to get the policy in order, and now they did bring or they brought a suit against them saying, you want
Can't
us to
do
do
that,
this,
right.
fund us in some ways.
There's a laundry list of items.
And one of the items is we had staff.
Absolutely.
And the other one is in Red Bank, in Monmouth County. They're requesting that the School Boards Association support change of deadline for the school board candidate petitions for the general election to be September, that would be 64 days before the general
Because of the
election.
change election, which makes
Because of the
sense.
change. So, and I would hope that that would be okay for me to support as well. Okay. They have to have a formal policy in writing to change it, so, because it's always been, what, February, I believe?
Right, for April's
February.
election.
Right, so, okay, thank you.
By the
Thank you.
time you're voted in, you change your mind a year later now.
Black Horse Bike, there's just progress curriculum. We did meet this evening to review some of the curriculum pieces that Mr. Mungo and some teachers are working on, technology, music, physical education, and health. Policy and public relations,
I did not make it to the meeting, I did read through, I think someone was there, but just,
we'll update it.
thank you.
Lynn, anything for policy and
No,
public
but at
relations?
this point in time, I know we were still waiting to hear from Mr. Stern concerning that one policy, but
Okay.
there's been nothing come forward.
Negotiations, no. Finance, did not meet. Personnel, did not meet, and property did not meet, correct? This one? Okay. Under new business, I need a motion to approve items number 1 and number 2 under property and transportation, use of facilities and field trips. Motion made by Patty,
Second.
seconded by Maria. Any questions
The 1 and 2?
for 1 and 2? Are you with me? It's just 1 and 2 under property and transportation. You're good? Roll call.
Angel Beebe,
Yes.
Naomi Davidson,
Yes.
Amy Farah,
Yes.
Maria Panzarella,
Yes.
Tricia Smith,
Yes.
Samantha Spalding,
Yes.
Lynn Terrell.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Under personnel, I'd like to have a motion for items number 1 through 12 on the new agenda.
Could we
Oh,
go
excuse
one
me.
second?
Yes.
Just, I'm sorry, only because, with the Volts, APR, the Education Foundation will have use of that on June 2nd, even though, no, because that's on here and we just voted on it. So it's on here and we voted on it, but we're gonna tell them
No,
no.
it shouldn't have included APR, that's fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what the original request was, but it was changed when it was finalized.
Okay.
Oh, I see.
There's
what you're
date
saying. Thank you.
conflicts.
Yeah, there's a conflict.
Okay.
Thanks, Maria.
No problem.
Thank you, Maria. APR,
So, again, I need an approval for under personnel, items number 1 through 13 on the new agenda. There's 3 additions at the bottom.
Yeah, I
Make the motion first.
Yeah.
Motion made by Amy,
I second it.
seconded by Maria. Question, Maria?
Is there a reason that our custodians from Volts and Bingham are transferring?
It's a supervisory decision.
I didn't hear the question.
Was it a
It
supervisory?
was a supervisory
Okay.
decision, if their allocation to the staff.
Okay. Have the kids, I'm only asking this as a parent who had kids that went through Bingham. Have the Bingham children been introduced to the new custodian?
He's been making himself.
Very visible. Okay, I know the one thing that as a parent I loved was that we knew who, and our kids were comfortable with them. I remember my son in kindergarten saying, Mr. Warner opened my juice box for me today, and I was like, who is Mr. Warner? But I mean, you know, I think it's big for kids that age, which is why I'm so against private, you know. Anyway, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question. How many, for the summer school, how much did it cost us last year to do summer school?
It is Title I funded, it is not locally funded.
Okay.
So it is a little bit, will be a little bit more this year than it was last year because we added another group.
We have more children
We have
in.
more children.
Which kids?
It's the third to fourth grade. Actually, we never did anything for 3, 4. It's been back and forth with different grade levels, but 3, 4 was the one that had been missed.
Okay. And how many children will attend?
Actually, we put it, it's hard to say exactly how many will attend, but we put it out to the teachers to invite and for parents to send and to approve. So I would say all told, I don't know, how many ESY, probably in the 60s, I would guess, between ESY and inclusion.
ESY, we would have close to 30, probably, close to 30. Extended school year, for the, that's a special education program. And for the others, we were looking at groups of approximately 10,
Yeah,
Ms.
what
Gallagher, you're right,
the-
approximately 10 for each grade level?
And they're the inclusives, in that time period, we meet 2 groups, okay? Like the ESY's one group, you know, because that's the special ed summer program. But the inclusive, we run one group from, for an hour and a half, and then we run another group for an hour and a half, because we have the Bingham and Downing groups. So we invite 10. We invite 10 into each of those groups. So for the inclusive one, that would be 20. But we don't always get 10. 'Cause
Now, if you don't, would you open it up to people?
yeah, we go to
Okay.
alternatives, but even then, some parents, that hour and a
Right.
half sometimes is, if the parent works, sometimes they just can't
Right,
manage to
understood.
get them there for an hour and a half and pick them up an hour and a half
Right,
later.
understood.
So we try to get 10 for each of those groups. We usually end up more with 8, I would
8,
say.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's roughly 60
So
or
say
70
16
kids?
in those 3 groups, there would be 16, and then whatever Janet said she had.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Question?
What does PSD stand for?
Preschool disabled. Yeah.
Is there any other questions? Roll call.
Angel Beebe?
Yes.
Naomi Davidson?
Yes.
Amy Farah?
Yes.
Maria Panzarella?
Yes.
Patricia Smith?
Yes.
Samantha Spalding?
Yes.
Lynn Terrell?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
At this time, I'd like to publicly wish Mr. George Pedicelli and Mrs. Jean Mendel, thank them for all their years of service publicly and wish them best in their retirements. Moving along to finance. I need a motion to approve items number 1 and number 2.
I make a motion.
Motion made by Maria, thank you.
Second.
Second by Lynn. Are there any questions? Roll call.
Angel Beebe?
Yes.
Naomi Davidson?
Yes.
Amy Farah?
Yes.
Maria Panzarella?
Yes.
Patricia Smith?
Yes.
Samantha Spalding?
Yes.
Lynn Terrell?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
What? I need another motion because I messed up, because I saw the roll call vote there under number 2. Under finance, I need numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6 on the back. 6 is a new item. Sorry about that. Motion made by Patty,
Second.
seconded by Angel. Roll call, sorry.
Wait, I have a question.
Okay.
For this tuition contract. I noticed on Mrs. Beal's report that there were no out-of-district placements, so where does this contract come or go to? How does this, is it the same correlation? I'm not sure.
Lynn, I didn't hear the very first.
There's a
up for vote here for a tuition contract for placement of a student at Durand.
Yes.
But in your report, it says there's no out-of-district
The
placement. so-
report was from March activity.
Okay.
And that student was recently placed.
Gotcha, okay, thanks. Thank you.
I believe April the 3rd.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this is April.
Or the 9th, I'm sorry, it was April the 9th.
Okay, that's fine, thank you.
So roll call for items 3, 4, 5, and 6, please.
Andrew Beatty? Yes. Naomi Davidson?
Yes.
Amy Farah?
Yes.
Maria? Patricia Smith?
Yes.
Samantha Spalding?
Yes.
Lynn Terrell?
Yes.
We have motion carries, right?
Yeah.
Moving along. Under curriculum, health and physical education, kindergarten through 8th grade. General music and technology should read 4th grade to 8th grade. Can we do these together? And number 2 will be the HIB report for March 28th.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the curriculum. I'll second that motion with the changes that we discussed with Mr. Lindell in the
Yes.
curriculum committee meeting.
Any other questions?
Well, that was a good question. I had a concern that there was no specific resources for each of the curriculum that we've looked at. Some of them were very specific, other curricula were not. And we came up with a plan to be able to get some type of resource that would actually be online for the teachers to go to if they have any questions or concerns about other avenues they can explore when they're going through a particular standard or particular content in the curriculum. So,
I have one quick question about the curriculum part. Where it says materials on here, are we gonna be using, is this where the iPad stuff is gonna be coming in, or the technology portion?
well, that's basically
Is that-
for a teacher's reference and a guide, for a teacher to use.
Oh, okay.
So that's for a teacher's use, resources they can go to and visit, to get ideas for what they can use, what they can do to get over and go through those particular skills.
So
Your point about the resource list will then include iPad applications when we start to make that
Exactly,
list.
exactly.
And that will become a shared, pardon me, on a shared drive.
Mhm.
as you pointed out.
I'm trying to make it electronical so people can, use it and update it as often as possible. It's like a work in progress.
And also, Mr. Mungo has said he wanted to do monthly updates, like teachers going through a particular unit or a lesson, and he or she finds that this particular resource worked very well for them, and it wasn't part of the list already, that would be added at the end of that particular period of time. So it becomes an ongoing correction and ongoing update of everything that's in the curriculum.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Angel Beatty?
Yes.
Naomi Davidson?
Yes.
Amy Farah?
Yes.
Patricia Smith?
Yes.
Samantha Spalding?
Yes.
Lynn Terrell?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 6-0.
There's nothing to vote on under policy and public relations this month, so now we will move along to public comments on any item. The public is reminded that all public complaints against a district employee must be made through a specific grievance process. A description of this process may be found in Board of Ed Policy, File Code 0167. This policy is available upon request in the Office of the Board Secretary. Any individual naming an employee in a complaint before the Board of Education without the employee's permission could be cited for violating that employee's civil and contractual rights. Does anybody have any public comments at this time? Mr. Schmidt? Mr. Schmidt raised his
Thank you.
hand first, I'm sorry, Mrs. Winter.
That's okay.
John Schmidt, 1 West Thompson Avenue, Gloucester City, New Jersey. Madam President, I know we have discussed this issue. I've discussed it with the board. For a while, this board turned the corner and did it right. and you should be commended for it. Your district in which you work in, Black Horse Pike Regional, does it right. The last meeting that you had, you entered into an executive session for matters of personnel and litigation issues.
I believe I say personnel and legal matters
Legal
is what I
matters.
was told to say by our board solicitor.
That used to be acceptable. Certainly, some government agencies err in it because it was the law at one time. Court order after court order, that's no longer acceptable. Most recently, PAF versus PAF, and I believe it was Delgado versus the Camden City Board of Education. This case filed in December and heard in February of this year, in which Mr. PAF and another gentleman, a resident of the city of Camden, filed suit in Superior Court for OPMA violations. Part of the issue was what you say when you go into exec, such as personnel matter, legal issues, litigation. The judge said, you got to be more specific. You have to say what type of legal matter it is. You do pending litigation, you can do a summary of what it is. If it's a case, you have to cite the case. Your lawyer is dead wrong. You were doing it right. When Mr. Stern wasn't here, you said we're going into executive session to discuss PAF versus the Runnymede Board of Education. I believe you did that on 2 occasions. That's the proper way to do it. It's one of the issues I had with the board. We discussed it, it was going well. Why did you revert back to a way that case law after case law, myself versus the Gloucester City Board of Education? I'm trying to use Board of Education examples in this immediate area. In fact, I had a meeting. I'm sure you're familiar with the law firm Wade, Long, Wood, and Kennedy. They represent the borough. They also represent various school boards, including your employer. Other ones include Laurel Springs, Merchantville, Winona, Stratford, Brooklawn, Winslow. Winslow does it right. The other ones were not being specific. I had a meeting with them for an hour and a half about 2 weeks ago. And you know what they agreed? Yeah, even though we're all the same firm, different lawyers, we need to get on the same page because that used to be acceptable, it's no longer acceptable. And they actually created a model executive session resolution, which is almost identical to yours, with the exception of one part they took out. And that was it. And I'm wondering,
Do you have a question for me?
yeah,
Because we're going by the 3-minute policy and you have 3 minutes.
I'm wondering why you didn't do it properly, and will you do it properly moving forward, or is it going to take a Superior Court order to have the Board of Education follow OPMA?
My answer to that question is, number 1, I am not an expert on case law. Okay? Number 2, before every meeting, I ask the superintendent, and if the board solicitor is here, the board solicitor, exactly what to say when we go into executive session. I did it this evening. And our board solicitor, you're concerned about the last month's meeting, our board solicitor was sitting 2 people down from me.
And he's wrong.
So what I just did, Mr. Schmidt, because I don't know he's wrong, you know he's wrong, I don't know he's wrong. So you just said PAF and Delgado versus Camden City Board of Education, correct?
Yes.
And that was exactly what you're saying I'm doing wrong. It's a case law now.
Yes, that's
That
the
tomorrow
most
morning-
recent example.
That tomorrow morning when I get up, I can call our board solicitor and cite this case law and ask him what I'm to do in the future.
Your lawyers put you in a bad spot. Real quick, I won't repeat it. When you did your superintendent evaluation, I see you decided to stick with Dr. Ward. I got my issues with the amount of Oprah money she's cost and the bad decision she's made for
Okay.
not knowing Oprah. Who rated her job performance? Was it the board, or was it also the teachers, or a combination of both?
The evaluation process isn't even due until April 30th, so it's not done.
Yeah.
But the board will do that.
Before her contract extension, though? Were teachers involved with that?
No, it was a board decision.
All right, well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it, as always.
Thank you.
And,
And I'm just
Please
gonna let you
look
know
down.
that I will be making that phone call tomorrow morning.
okay, and if you could contact me before the next meeting, let me know if that's possible.
I sure will.
I hate lawsuits. I'm trying to do it right. I'm trying, you know,
understand your
I
point.
took my time to sit down with lawyers and said, you know what, I could have filed a great one in Lindenwood. But I says, now, you know what, I'll give a call to Howard Long and sit down with him. I'll sit down with Jack Kennedy, sit down with Lenny Wood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Mrs. Winters?
Michelle Bennett, 17 Kane Ave. I have a question regarding number 4, finance. Funds to support the implementation of the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights Act. My question,
I'm sorry, under what?
finance,
Oh, I see it, I see it.
is that currently in place? The anti-bullying policy? It is, right? Okay. So we're applying for funds to support it because of what it's passing, is that why? What it's
What
passing?
happened, you may remember we were talking about unfunded mandates.
Mhm.
The new-
Okay.
The new anti-bullying Bill of Rights was considered an unfunded mandate, and legal action was brought against the Department of Education that it has caused an undue burden for many school districts.
Okay.
So they have created a fund whereby school districts can apply for reimbursement for the out-of-pocket expenses that they've incurred through the course of this year and having to implement HIV. And we are going to apply for whatever it is we will qualify for. Some of that, I think all of it is going to be the training that we've had to send our people to that was not in our original budget.
Okay. And then another question that isn't directly about the finance part of this, but does that policy apply to faculty as well?
It is inclusive of faculty.
Okay, so.
However, with faculty, there are other avenues as opposed to the anti-bullying Bill of Rights being inclusive of faculty exclusively. There are other avenues if there are concerns about faculty.
Okay, so where someone may want to initiate a or a bullying
A complaint.
investigation or a complaint, what then would you recommend that they would do?
Well, first, if you feel comfortable, speak to the teacher. If you are not comfortable speaking to the staff member, teacher, whoever it is, go directly to the principal and
Okay.
express your concern.
But is there an incident written up and a report back? Because from what I understand, this anti-bullying would do all of that, yes?
Yes.
I have a little concern with that,
Mhm.
with this other avenue being
Mhm.
as documented, so to speak, and brought up to maybe the level it needs to be,
Mhm.
which I think we are getting at with the anti-bullying. I would love to see that with faculty as well.
Mhm.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Mrs. Gallagher?
I just wanted to let the board know, I happened to notice that the Men of Distinction and Girls in Action were going to Lark School. They came to both Bingham and Downing schools. They, first they came to Bingham and they read in every classroom, and the kids absolutely loved it. And I said to Mr. Marakovich, why don't you bring them to Downing as well? And last week he brought them over to Downing and did the same thing there, and it was a great success. The kids just love it when the 7th and 8th graders come and read to them.
They're quieter for them than me.
Ms. Gallagher,
They're
was
quieter for
Yeah.
them
Yes.
than me. They
Gallagher.
were just hanging on the
Were there
words.
specific stories that they read to the children?
They brought books with them.
From their
The
own
teach,
choice?
I told the teachers to have books, because they were there for almost an hour in each classroom. And I told the teachers to have some extra books, but Mr. Iannucci came over with bags of books ahead of time, and so because they were walking, the kids were walking over. And down. He
You
didn't walk them
carry the
over.
books through too?
Yeah, but they had a lot of books with them, and evidently they pretty much read the books they wanted to read to the children.
I had 3 boys in my room, and my kids aren't used to seeing men in the elementary school, so they were just hanging on their every word for the stories. And they were there for a full hour, and my kids did not say a peep the entire time. They loved it.
Please send our thank you, Mr. Iannucci, to
Yes, I
the
will.
teachers. There's a hand in the back.
Hi, Rebecca Nafis. Dr. Ward and I had a conversation after my son had an incident in the locker room, and I didn't get a call back. I didn't get any resolution. So I'm wondering if you moved forward with implementing some change as far as supervision in the locker room?
It's my understanding, Mrs. Nathis, that you were contacted by the building administration regarding your concern. If that is not the case, then let's talk afterwards.
Okay. I was promised a phone call after the break. That never happened.
Anyone else? Any other public comments? Okay, at this time, we will be moving into executive session. We will not be coming back out to no action items will be read. Resolved that pursuant to Section 80 of the Public Meetings Act, the public shall be excluded from that portion of the meeting involving discussion of personnel and legal issues, specifically PATH versus Runnymede Board of Education. Further resolved that discussion of such subject matters discussed in executive session can be disclosed to the public upon official action, if any, at the conclusion of the executive session or a public session at some time at a later date. I need a motion to go in executive. Motion made by Lynn, seconded by Patty. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We will be about a half hour.
Need those tickets, Mr. Mundo?
What